a woman whose name I don't recall, but she was a very lovely, very great. She was in charge of medical manpower. And when they told her that they were about to pick at Johns Hopkins, she realized that Baltimore was extraordinarily unstable because of an incursion of black and cracker Southerners. And it was every day there were little pogroms, never reported in the media. So she called up the dean and says, take this boy back. We cannot afford to disrupt the war effort and have problems like that. So he called me in and says, if you behave, you'll be permitted to graduate. So that was my first encounter.
Yeah.
But what he told me was interesting. He says, Lyle, you're a bright boy and you'll go far, but you have one defect. You think you can change the world. He says, what I would suggest is when you have some of your great ideas, pass it to us older folks that could advise you. Go to the top. Don't ever start at the bottom. And I said, yes, sir. From then on, I never went to the top. I started at the bottom.
Bravo.
Bravo. Fantastic. Thank you.
It's been an hour, and we don't want to abuse you like your last visit to Canada. We were back in Toronto. Was it Ottawa or Toronto?
Ottawa.
Right.
Where are you talking from?
Ottawa.
Ottawa. Well, you were back in Ottawa.
Yes. Our head office of Physicians for Global Survival is in Ottawa. And,
I thought I was talking to you in Montreal.
No, so I'm from Montreal, but I'm as the president of PGS, come up to Ottawa with our board members who come from across Canada, in fact, to be with us today and to share this wonderful experience with you, Bernard.
Let me ask you a question, and that would help me enormously, because there are others that are now, I call this the Ariel conversation.
Right.
You know why?
It's your granddaughter. It's in the book. Well, you talked about Ariel and how she was instrumental to create the passion to start IPPNW.
No.
Well, that she wouldn't have the threat of nuclear war over her head.
Yeah. What happened is Ariel, she's now in Beijing. Her boyfriend is getting a PhD in Chinese studies, and she's working for China Daily. She's a journalist writer, and she introduced us to Skyping.
Right.
So I said, oh, what a great idea. Now I can connect with friends all over the world.
Exactly.
And I keep on getting invited, and I'm too old to travel. I'm going to be 90 in another year. So this was, but that's not why I named it Ariel. I named it for two other reasons. One is the fact that the last Congress that I was co-president in Mexico, the 11th Congress of IPPNW, one of IPPNW leaders, a young fellow named Lachlan Farrow, who's now head of the Schweitzer Fellowship, Schweitzer Movement, a professor at Harvard, he, giving a final address, turned to Ariel, who was in the audience, was 9. He says, we promise you, Ariel, in 7 years from today, in the year 2000, we will have abolished nuclear weapons. So, in my mind, the promise you and I made to Ariel is unfulfilled.
Right.
So we owe her something, and we owe it to all young people.
You're a bad Zadie.
Yeah, true. But there's a third reason. When I was first thinking about it, I was thinking of intergenerational medical conversation to promote a sustainable planet. That is a mouthful that results in a yawn. When I say Ariel conversation, people say, what's that? And the moment they pose a question to you, they become receptive. So you need a branding. Whenever you do something, you think of a bright branding. So that's why I call it the Ariel Conversation, or AC, the Ariel Conversation. My question to you is 2 points I want to make. One is that you have to promote the Basel Congress of IPPNW.
We're doing.
Try to win support for participating in there, because these congresses are enormously inspiring. To get Canadians and Americans to come there is vitally important, because we are regarded as the sinners, really, in the world today. Secondly, see, I'm showing my age. I don't know what the second was. That I want to know what the format should be for this type of conversation. The first one, I gave a lecture for 30 minutes, then there were questions. But the questions were from older folks, not young people. And I wasn't exposed to young people. The first one took place with Agra, India. And the first question I heard was, I am from Kashmir, sir. What should we do to resolve the conflict in Kashmir? I wished I were someplace else. So, and then another question came along. Sir, Indian politics is so corrupt. IPPNW should become a political movement. We should be elected to the parliament and drive those scoundrels out. What do you think about that, Dr. Lau?
And you thought my questions were tough.
Well, so what I ask of you is to really think about the format of these Ariel conversations. How are we to advance the experience I have, and foremost to read the book and promote the book? Because here's an interesting thing. Whenever I wrote about anything, it would get front coverage, in much media. The Lost Art of Healing was reviewed in New York Times, the Boston Globe, San Francisco Chronicle, everything. This book is not being reviewed anywhere.
Terrible.
Except New England Journal of Medicine, which felt shamed. But nowhere in the United States. The first review of this book occurred in the Dawn, the leading newspaper of Pakistan. And there they devoted a front page, 2 full pages, a brilliant review, nothing in the United States. So if you want to, and they are bright enough to know how dangerous the book is. They regard it so dangerous that they tried to shut it out by creating a black hole. It hasn't been printed. Even the Boston Globe, that I wrote a number of op-ed pages, whenever I'd write one, we'd love to print it. They gave me every excuse they wouldn't publish anything.
The first victim of war is the truth, Dr. Lowndes.
Right.
And that's the
But I
reality.
beg you to promote this book in Canada or wherever else. To promote it means repetition, and more repetition. That's what organizing is all about. Repetition, without sounding repetitious. Teaching is the art of repetition. Advertising is what those rascals have learned, how to fog our mind. Okay? Now, I have also a blog that you ought to look at, because it has material beyond the book, and the blog is www.bernardlown, one word, .wordpress, WORDPRESS.com. I've written so far 15 articles. Some on medicine, some on politics, some on IPPNW, about Obama's Nobel Prize, etc. So thank you very much for all the good questions.
Well, you wanted feedback on the format. From our point of view, this has been an outstanding format. I'd like Dale, who's our executive director, to have a word.
Right. It was special thanks to Michael Christ, who of course isn't here to receive the thank you for setting this up with you. And thank you very much for participating with us.